Yes, that is a very sound and astute reason. But again, Otto is also the younger brother to the Hightower family. He can still pressure you to do his bidding, even with no inheritance to his name or claims to higher levels of political power. Daemon warned him.
A dark rage curdled in him as his eyes narrowed. I'd like to see him try.
Daemon smirked. And I now see why Viserys chose you as heir. You may act like me from time to time, but you also share your mother's wit, he stated. Huh, I'll take that as a compliment, Naruto responded.
It was a pity, really. He'd killed her to come into this world. He would always feel some small sadness about that.
It wasn't, Daemon snorted. The sheep were more enticing than that woman, he said as his son broke into laughter.
I'll have to remember that one. Naruto chuckled. You laugh now, but I told her that to her face before she left back to the Vale and had you. Daemon said pointedly.
So, that just makes you the sheep fucker then, not me. Daemon scowled. Damn, he had him on that one.
So, tomorrow, you return to Westeros, the conqueror of the Stepstones and hero to House Velaryon and House Targaryen. Naruto summed up. He wasn't surprised when the rogue prince dug his heels in, literally and figuratively. I don't want to go back, what with the tensions rising between me and my brother, but I need to show him I am alright, to see how he is doing, and to present our prisoners to him as well as his prize.
Naruto hummed. Speaking of, what say you and I go have a bit of a discussion with little Krabby?
The mighty crag is Drahar, reduced to such a lowly name. Irony was fun tilde. Little Krabby. Daemon blinked. Oh, crabfeeder, yes, indeed. He chortled as he refilled his wine and followed his son out of the tent. We just left them, but you never know which moron will try and off them when our backs are turned. Hence wanting to check on them, Naruto stated as he approached the prisoners. They were, unsurprisingly, much as they'd left them, bound on the ground.
Bit more sullen perhaps, but nothing of note there.
So, crabfeeder, he leered. You wanna get anything off your chest before we ship you off to Westeros? You would never have succeeded were it not for your damned winged lizards. Drahar growled up at him. And you'd never survive a year with that grease-scale spreading over your body. Daemon clearly enjoyed the man's flinch as he savored his wine. Once you succumbed, your fellow commanders of the Triarchy would fight over absolute command and kill one another in the attempt to assume control. We'd have won regardless, it was only the timing that would decide when. You take such pride in your logic. I suggest you employ it. The crabfeeder snarled at them. Consider the beautiful land you so vigorously defend. Picture it reduced to ash at my whim. Consider the fate of your women. Naruto snorted as Daemon choked on his wine trying not to laugh. Clearly you don't know our women. I might as well have marched them up here, judging by what I've seen. Daemon remarked.
When I get free of my bonds, I will bring about an agony the likes of which you have never seen before, the crazed man declared.
Seen and heard that one plenty of times. Naruto snorted. Guards, take him to the ship, bind him to the mast and have 5 guards with eyes on him at all times, 12-hour shifts between the men to make sure he and his butt buddies don't escape. Oh, and gag each of them. His whining is starting to rattle my brain. He told the guards, no food or water for 3 days, should soften them up just enough for us to get them to King's Landing to be questioned. Yes, my prince. A man bowed his head as he and the others began to drag the resistant crabfeeder and Triarchy commanders away to do as they were commanded. Well, we best be off as well. Daemon said as he turned to the massive tent. Let me grab my things and we'll fly back to King's Landing together. Yay, sure, I'll get my own stuff as well. Naruto shrugged as he went to follow. So, what is it exactly you have planned for when we return? Daemon questioned his son. Don't really know, Naruto admitted. I'll try and speak with Rhaenyra, spend some time with Alicent, then speak to Uncle Viserys. I'll probably pop over to Dragonstone and hang out with Vermithor if I can. So many options, so little choice to make, he stated. Daemon snorted, Vermithor, you really think he'll be willing to let you go, with what happened last time you were around him?
Naruto paused. One time, he held me hostage one time. He held up a finger.
Daemon looked at his son with a raised brow. All right, maybe twice, or several times, fine, the big bastard loves me. He crossed his arms with a huff. I don't know why he holds me hostage, damn it. I know why, he wishes for you to ride him. Daemon scoffed. I have Balerion, Naruto responded.
And you think just by having the greatest of dragons under your command, you cannot have another? His father questioned. Look, I'm not saying claim the Bronze Fury, but he obeys you, and you alone for the time being. He sees you as his master. Do whatever you wish with that information, I do not care. But when the time comes, you must choose what you want to do with him. There is no telling just how much longer that Balerion can live. A dragon as battle-hardened as Vermithor will make a powerful symbol as a new mount if you or someone close to you claims him as their own. Naruto glanced askance. Balerion had plenty of life left in him, though Daemon didn't know that. Let's head back, his father finished with a wry smirk. Wouldn't want to keep the king waiting now, shall we? Naruto shrugged. We'll see, he said as he followed his father, and then walked over to Balerion.
The Black Dread raised his massive head with a low rumble, munching on the remains of his latest conquest. The poor shark had never stood a chance. It was an absolutely splendid specimen this side of the sea, but next to the old dragon, it may as well have been a guppy in the ocean.
Let's go home, Balerion, he said softly.
His old friend grunted once, gobbled up the last of his meal, and promptly lowered a wing for him to climb upon. Settling into the saddle, he laid down and strapped himself in. Balerion exhaled deeply, raised his wings and slapped them down with an almighty crack. With a mighty whump of sound, he took to the skies, and flew back to his roost in Aegon's kingdom. The flight was silent, the only sounds coming from Naruto's mind as he mused on what to do when he returned home. Curly's would be back with a week's time, Daemon would be there roughly tomorrow, Balerion by sunset. He knew he wished to speak with Rhaenyra, to bury the hatchet and start anew. He wanted to spend time with Alicent, hold her and his soon-to-be-born child in his arms.
Fuck Otto. He was becoming stranger with every passing moment he spoke to him. Uncle Viserys probably need to hide the wine once again, and bury it besides.
But, once more, he also thought on what Daemon had told him.
Vermithor.
His obedience to him was nearly identical to that of Miles and Syrax to Aunt Rhaenys and Rhaenyra, and it troubled him that it was so high. Shaking his head, he decided to make a detour, time to nip this in the bud.
Grabbing the reins, he turned to Balerion, somewhat surprising the massive eldworm. But he could also feel the meaning to his master's desire. You wish to claim the bronze one, he questioned. I have no issues with this choice. His obedience to you will make a worthy ally in the future to come.
Naruto bit his lip. I wouldn't say claim, per se. Safeguard him, then. Regardless, he and his mate will make excellent vanguards for when the time of battle comes down upon us both. With them aiding us, we shall ensure our continued victory over our enemies. The Black Dread took great pride in that. His offspring was strong, it only made sense that they would be able to guard his rider. It didn't matter how many he claimed, he knew he was the only one that would be chosen for major battles.
Naruto nodded. Very well then. When we reach Dragonstone, you are free to return to the Red Keep. I'll find Vermithor, and fly back with both him and Silverwing.
The Dragonkeepers would see to the security and safety of any eggs in the Dragonmont, naturally.
They are too large for the dragon pit.
They needn't stay there for long, we can build a separate place for them.
Balerion snorted. If it is all the same, then why not have us return as a solitary group, rather than risk unwanted questions being asked of us? You can fly the bronze one to the pit under the cover of darkness, and return to the halls of your castle before word even spreads.
Valerian had a point, Naruto would later admit, but it was a piece of advice that was sound in mind and theory. He could bring both dragons to the capital. The keepers requested to keep it silent before he decided to make it public knowledge that Vermithor had been brought to the pit. Landing on the Isle of Dragonstone wasn't that big of an issue, especially under cover of darkness. Valerian was perfectly camouflaged due to the new moon. Reaching the caverns, that was a different story. The keepers on the isle looked over the dragons which would travel and roost here, roughly 8 of them counting Vermithor and Silverwing. Both in the numbers were not so ecstatic when he had explained what he wanted to do. And so, he ignored them, brushing past and walking down into the depths of the cavern where they awaited.
The cavern in which the Bronze Fury awaited.
Even now, Naruto could hear how he called to him, urging him down to its depths. And so the Crown Prince walked forth, venturing into the mountain that was Dragonstone. 3 of the keepers followed, their protests silently speaking as they trekked downwards into darkness. Down he went, torch in hand, braving death and darkness for destiny. The irony wasn't lost on him. This might make a fine melody, assuming he survived. Because the dragons awaited. He could hear them singing in the depths. Theirs was a song of fire and blood, a trilling primal melody that spoke to his very soul. It had occurred to him that what he was about to do had never been attempted nor heard of in all of history, that which had survived the doom of Valyria, at least, because here he was about to try and do something considered impossible. As if that had ever stopped him before. In the end he'd reached the cavern, the keepers brushing into the darkness with him, their own torches held aloft to stave off the darkness. Truth be told, he was starting to question his sanity even now. Could he even attempt such a thing when he had Valerian? Command a second dragon, however briefly. Command the Bronze Fury that once belonged to the King Jaehaerys himself. He was taking a mighty risk by doing this in the first place. Dragons were known to devour those they rejected, and Vermithor above all. It wasn't pretty nor kind. Climbing towards a flat platform, he could hear something breathing beyond it in the dark ahead of him. Something large. His heart began to hammer in his chest. Sweat beaded upon his brow. Cracking his neck, he cleared his throat and spoke into the gloom.
Come forth, Vermithor. He spoke in High Valerian, his voice powerful, unwavering. A trill of happiness echoed through the cavern. My prince, a dragon keeper hissed behind him in worry. Please think this through.
Too late for thinking now, a great shadow stirred before him. He glimpsed a tail coiling round the steps.
An ancient rumble rattled the cavern, causing his very teeth to tremble in his jaw. And then the dragon sang a song of its own. Flame burst forth from its maw as it screamed. Napalm bathed the ceiling, revealing the true bulk of the beast.
Despite his best effort, a grin split his face. At length the blaze died. The dragon swept its massive head down and he found himself delighted, because in the light of his fallen torch, he recognized this beast.
Vermithor? This was the Bronze Fury, riderless for 3 decades since the death of his lord grandfather, Jaehaerys. He had seen him many a time before as a boy, both up close and afar. As such he knew him by sight. His deep bronze scales, glowing orange eyes, and those great black horns curving up and around his skull, some of them broken from hard-fought battles.
However, Vermithor wasn't truly pleased as he came upon the Child of Light. Behind him were those pesky watchers that his old master had called upon to watch him and his kin, and he allowed his displeasure to be known with a deep guttural growl. Calm yourself, Vermithor, Naruto told the dragon, who growled deeper as he continued to gaze beyond him. Calm, Vermithor, he spoke placatingly. Calm. A roar filled the cavern as the dragon expressed his displeasure. He glimpsed the telltale sign of fire building in the beast's maw.
Naruto narrowed his eyes. Calm yourself now, Vermithor.
As he spoke, he channeled a minute amount of chakra into his voice, the energy resonating with the beast before him. Slowly, gradually, the ancient Wyrm closed its mighty maw and expelled a plume of steam through his nostrils. Mercifully, his discontent proved brief. The dragon trilled softly and it laid its head down on the massive dais.
Naruto released a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding.
All right, progress. Carefully, he raised a hand out and gently placed it upon the bronze fury's snout, closing his eyes to commune with the large dragon. After a moment's pause, Vermithor did the same. He felt his mind brush against this terrible, titanic, towering presence and exhaled slowly. That was the thing about dragons. The idea that they, the Targaryens, controlled them was an illusion. A dragon did the choosing.
These were not beasts to be tamed, nor pets to be corralled. They were living creatures, and he would treat them as such.
I know you do not like the Dragonkeepers, but I will ensure that you are protected, and all those you call kin will fly happily and freely in the years to come. He promised softly, I am not here to claim you, but merely to guide you home. Let us go return to the keep, together.
Vermithor needed to no further encouragement. He turned his body and presented his saddle. One of the Dragonkeepers muttered something incredulous behind him. Naruto didn't bother to listen.
It was time to see if he was worthy of the Bronze Fury himself, and those he would come to rule one day.
And with that he climbed into the saddle.
The very moment he sat down, Vermithor abruptly cried out a song of joyous glee not often heard from such a creature, and he found himself forced to grasp onto the handles of the saddle as the Bronze Fury began to rush through the caverns at breakneck speed. The calls of the keepers were soon left behind as he dragged himself through the darkness, toward the open skies for the first time in over 30 years. A song trilled through the air as he rushed across the ground, his wings flaring open, and then with a leap, he jumped free from the hold that the world held on him, his song continuing as he flew around the island, daring all who would come outside to see his glory and his master. Flames burst out in golden reds, igniting the darkness, songs calling out to those he could sense filtering out into the open air to gaze upon him as he rejoiced, his eyes filled with ecstatic rapture. Balerion Father himself cried out as he flew up behind and joined him. Their dance was one of unity as he cried out to Silverwing, watching as his mate cried out in response before joining him in the skies together as they continued to sing out with one another. Sans Father, the Black Dread never really sang while they dipped and dodged around one another, wheeling high in the sky. Home, Vermithor, together. Naruto commanded as he steered the great dragon towards the capital, the three flying as one group, one flock, one mind. Now, let it not be said that dragons were disobedient pups, because Naruto had commanded both Silverwing and Vermithor to silence when they landed outside the pit, then dismounted the Bronze Fury and ushered him into the large structure with his mate under the cloak of darkness. There were no keepers out and about to watch him enter. Silverwing slithered after quietly before he took them down into the depths of darkness and had them choose their cavern to rest within. He knew Vermithor wouldn't stay inside long, but he would wait for his call regardless.
After all, he had merely ridden him, not truly claimed him. Balerion thankfully had landed just west of the keep to a massive she-dragon. Naruto himself recognized all too well as well.
Vagar the Dragon Queen. More akin to a planet than a dragon, she was almost as big as Vermithor, but Vermithor was a hunter through and through. She was only a few feet larger, but her age and battle knowledge would make her a dangerous adversary if it came to a fight. The 5 wild dragons on Dragonstone were not to be trifled with, and the 2 claimed dragons that roosted there were not really friendly towards people. He made a note to go collect Bodrak personally before aiming to get Tessarion, who was more manageable than the one many dubbed as the chaotic flame, for his tendency to burn first then ask later. Walking into the castle, he was greeted by a couple handmaidens and mentioned that the king was in his quarters and that the only ones awake were the king's guard who protected him.
Deciding to simply return to his own room, he was disgruntled when he was actually summoned to the throne room by a servant. They didn't say who or why, only that he was wanted in the throne room.
With a shrug, he did as suggested. Was it a trap? Most likely. Did he care?
No, not really. When he reached it, he was slightly surprised to see Alicent trying to stand before the fake skull, acting as he hadn't entered.
He walked up behind her and gently wrapped his arms around her. "So, you were the one who called me, were you?" He whispered in her ear, the redhead gasping as she actually did jolt in his arms. She hadn't heard him then.
She turned around and smiled as she cupped his cheek. "You came back?" she asked him. "You're here. So soon." "As I promised," he told her.
"It's been only a week. Has the fighting already finished?" she asked, somewhat surprised. Yay, Valerian helped majorly with what Khalees and Daemon had in mind, so the fighting was already set in stone before I even got there. He shrugged. "We have prisoners coming in by week's end to answer for crimes against the crown and a bunch of other things. It is good you are here then. I have been rather lonely," she said, rubbing a finger up and down his chest.
"Oh, has my lady been feeling neglected?"
"A little."
"Oh, has my lady been feeling neglected?" he asked.
"A little," she said alluringly. "We can't have that now, can we?" He smirked at her. "Surely you would prefer a bed for such activities." "Well, there is this one fantasy I've had played out in my head, one I wish to fulfill before my pregnancy gets too far along," she said, thumbing her chin. "Oh, Tilda, how curious."
"And what would that be?" he asked. Alicent said nothing, and only grinned deviously as she guided Naruto over to the throne, and then sat him on it, and he immediately realized what she wanted.
"Couldn't wait until business was handled, I take it?" Naruto asked rhetorically as he eyed her figure through the see-through fabric of her dress. "By the time we get to business, my pregnancy might be considered too far along to have sex. I want to fulfill this fantasy at least once while I still can," Alicent said as she brought her hands up to the clips that held her dress to her body. She pulled them up. The loose, silk-soft dress that she wore showed off every bit of her young and curvaceous body, dropping to the floor, showing off her large and firm breasts. Her long hair, thick and lustrous, a deep crimson scarlet mane reaching to the end of her back. Naruto tilted his head. "What did you have in mind?"
Alicent told him in no uncertain terms. And he laughed. 0.
In the dead of night, strange sounds were heard throughout the Red Keep.
Had anyone dared to investigate, said noises, they would have been quite surprised.
For they would have found a Targaryen in a high tower making love atop the Iron Throne.
Dawn came, and like a stubborn dog with a bone, Naruto's headache soon followed.
Alicent sighed as she pressed into his chest, her bare skin bringing warmth to the furs of their bed. Memories rushed back, drawing a rueful smile to his lips. Pulling such a stunt was quite risky, but the prize was well worth it, he felt. That wasn't something they'd be able to attempt again anytime. Pulling such a stunt was quite risky, but the prize was well worth it, he felt. That wasn't something they'd be able to attempt again anytime soon. Slowly and gently removing himself from his love's embrace, he climbed free and drank some wine before proceeding to get dressed. Uncle Viserys was sure to be awake and waiting. Daemon was going to be here soon, and the ships would come in a few days from now with their prisoners. There was of course ceremony to stand on in which Daemon gave up the stepstones. That ridiculous crown the civilians crafted was as dumb as the way it looked on his head. Walking down to the throne room, he found himself greeted by Viserys, who sat upon his throne, a smile on his face. "You have returned early, dear nephew. Tell me of the news." It was a question as much as a command. Thankfully, he was happy to answer it. "It is not my news to tell, but if the answer you seek is if we have won, then yes." He nodded. "Daemon should be in roughly sometime today or this afternoon, and Khalees should arrive within a few days with our prisoners." Prisoners. Viserys blinked. Ah yes, I thought you would rather pass such sentencing on your own rather than let them get off so easily when they want to fight over some small trivial things that they have no hold over. He waved his hand. So, how has everything been the last week?
Well, as you no doubt know, Vagar was successfully found and bonded to young Laena. So she now possesses the second largest dragon in all the world after you, Viserys said, causing Naruto to nod his head. Aetheric's eggs have been collected, all 9 of them, with 5 of them hatching. In the last week, we suspect the remaining eggs to hatch just as soon, so we can introduce some of the young hatchlings to Alicent, so they can feel for the child in her belly. He grinned happily at the mere idea. All is well, for now.
And of Rhaenyra? Naruto asked. Viserys' smile died an ugly deed and he turned away somewhat, a bit unhappy with what he was about to say. She has fallen pregnant as of recent. He stated factually, the only ones in the know are me, you and the Maester. The Kingsguard are not here, which makes it paramount to keep it silent.
Naruto's jaw clicked open. What in the 7 hells? Naruto balked. Has she taken leave of her senses? A bit of quiet coupling on the Iron Throne in the dead of night was one thing. He was the heir and thus could get away with such, but this could very well ruin House Targaryen's image. It'd be almost like the exiled Princess Sarah Targaryen all over again, he said as he lifted his arms up heatedly and dropped them harshly to his sides. Do we have any clues as to who the father is? No, Viserys admitted. She refuses to speak of the matter even to me. When I pressed the matter, she threatened to bite her tongue off. He admitted to his heir.
Have you tried getting her drunk? Naruto asked. Yes, but she simply fell asleep after getting well into her cups. Viserys sighed.
Then we will simply wait for the child to be born. Naruto shrugged. It may be a bastard, but the one thing that ever lies are features from familial ties. The father will be spotted whether she wants him to be or not, he stated. You would welcome such a child into the court? Viserys asked him, almost shocked by the very notion of such an idea.
That was a delicate subject. Naruto hated bastards, utterly disdained them with a passion. But there were exceptions.
The child shall not be blamed for the sins of the father, nor the crimes of the mother. Naruto answered, bastard or not, it will be family regardless of what we think or feel, he admitted, and a child should know it is loved, regardless if it is high-born or low-born, he said softly. In the end, he or she will be innocent in the grand matters. I see. Then all we need to do is wait for the day of the birth. Viserys nodded.
Until then, I would suggest wedding her to Lord Corley's son as soon as possible. Hide the deceit and inform his son when the time is right about her pregnancy and ask him to raise the child as his own. Laenor is an honest man who loves people for who they are, not what they represent. Knowing him, he would call the child his own due to his selection in partners. Naruto crossed his arms. So, a lie within a lie, Rhaenyra doesn't desire him. Hell's boy, she hates same-sex preferences. You know as well as I do that she desires you, Viserys stated. Don't even go there, uncle. I have Alicent, and possibly a match made with young Laena who is but a child. Need I remind you? Do you really think I am capable of mixing up 3 wives and court business and who knows what else is thrown our way? He said almost questioningly.
No, you need not, Viserys conceded.
Well, besides the surprise, what news do you have on the new hatchlings? Naruto asked. He adored the little buggers as if they were puppies. 3 males and a female, proud as Balerion and as free as the winds themselves. Viserys smirked. Before they could continue, the doors opened and revealed a Kingsguard Cole, causing Naruto to scowl. The man was acting a bit pompous as of late. He was starting to see a bit of an issue with the younger male. He had suspicions as to why, but he would rather have facts than pointless lies and rumor. It had served him well as his time as Naruto Uzumaki, who had ruled his home for 300 years before it was destroyed. Those same instincts would not be wasted in his time as Naruto Targaryen. Sire, news, Cole said, kneeling at the throne's base. Lord Demon has returned with news of victory over the Stepstones as well as their original masters coming in with Lord Curly's and Laner, he said, bowing his head. Very good. Summon Demon at noon with the court, and prepare a feast to celebrate. Viserys commanded. Dismissed. He added, and watch the boy leave. I don't like him, Naruto stated quickly. Nor do I, nephew, Viserys admitted. I feel as if he were keeping something from me, but I assume that is because he is as young as you and Rhaenyra. He huffed. I want you to keep an eye on him. No matter what he says or tells you, make sure to keep an open tab on all his activities. Well, I was your acting spider since I was a kid, this doesn't really change much, I guess. Naruto shrugged. Besides, I feel that he is overstepping his bounds as well. Naruto agreed. Ever since he became a Kingsguard he has been nothing but trouble, especially as of recent. Then you may begin fulfilling your duties then, Spider. Viserys grinned only for the doors to open up, causing him to groan. Oh, what is it, no, Rhaenyra, my lovely daughter, how do you fare? He said, plastering a smile on his face. Not a word, boy. He hissed into the snickering teen's ear.
Viserys was always like that with her. He wouldn't let him live it down now.
Father, may I speak with you cordially? She asked as she marched up to him. It is of the utmost importance, she stated as she ignored her cousin. Whatever it is you have to say, you may share it with both of us. Naruto said. In fact, I might be able to help you, he offered.
Sorry, cousin, but I don't think this is the kind of thing you'd care to sit around and talk about. This is actually something I really need to talk to Father alone on, she stated quickly before looking down. Thank you for the offer, though. I am grateful for your kindness.
Naruto had a soft smile on his face. Progress, finally, and he gently hugged her. Whatever you say. Just know I am always here to help you if you need it, he told her before he quickly left. As he went to explore the castle, a loud and happy laugh drew his attention, where he suddenly found himself grunting as a small bundle of eagerness and excitement jumped upon him. To his credit, he was more than used to being jumped by youngsters these days. You came back, said youngster said as he looked down to see little Lena grinning up towards him. Lena, hey, how you been? He asked her. You've gotten bigger, he told the younger child. Busy, she admitted. Mother has been giving me lessons on riding Bagar, and I have also been snooping around to try and find some dirty secrets of my own to hold over everyone else, including you, she smirked.
Me, what did I ever do to you? He balked. You don't remember the itching powder incident? She asked him with dull eyes.
Ooh, okay, yay, that prank could have gone way better. Hey, yay, that wasn't one my best, I'll admit. What? He had to act the part of a kid growing up again. Pranks helped add to the image.
Well, aside from trying to dig up things about me, how about we go get some snacks from the kitchens and celebrate? Celebrate what? She asked him. You're claiming a Vhagar, of course. You did it, you kept your promise, Lena, and I couldn't be prouder for you, Naruto said happily.
The poor girl flushed with embarrassment. Yay, but that is only because you told me to never give up in seeking her, she admitted.
And you did just that, and that deserves a reward, he said to her sincerely.
Okay, can we get some sweet rolls? She asked him. Whatever you want, he told her, the young girl reaching up to take his hand to lead him to her snacks. The days where happiness could be found would soon become rare, but for now, the family would take what they could get from them.